On a freezing February night in 1959, 9 hikers set up camp on the snowy slopes of Kholat Syakhl, known by locals as the Mountain of the Dead. By morning, something had gone terribly wrong. Their tent was found ripped open from the inside, their bodies scattered across the snow, barefoot, half-dressed, and brutally injured. What happened that night in the Ural Mountains has become one of the most disturbing, unsolved mysteries in modern history. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. In late January 1959, 10 experienced students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out on a skiing and hiking expedition through the northern Urals. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. The team included both men and women, strong, trained hikers. One member, Yuri, fell ill and turned back early. He would later say that decision saved his life. The remaining 9 pressed on. Their goal, to reach Mount Otterton, a remote peak deep in Siberia. On February 1st, they pitched their tent on the slope of Kholat Syakhl. The weather was brutal. Heavy snow, freezing wind, minus 30 degrees Celsius. We know from diaries and photos that morale was high. They cooked dinner, joked around, and prepared to rest. It was the last time anyone saw them alive. When they failed to report back on schedule, search teams were sent. What rescuers found was beyond comprehension. The tent was half buried in snow, but what stood out was how it was cut open, from the inside. Inside were boots, coats, cameras, and food. Everything they needed to survive. Footprints led away from the tent, barefoot or wearing only socks. The prints suggested the hikers had walked calmly into the woods, not run in panic. The first 2 bodies were found near a cedar tree, almost naked, huddled together beside the remains of a small fire. 3 more were found scattered between the tent and the tree, as if they were trying to crawl back. And 2 months later, 4 more bodies were discovered further into the ravine. That's when things got horrifying. One had a fractured skull. Another had multiple broken ribs, injuries similar to a car crash. One woman's eyes were missing. Another's tongue had been torn out. Some of their clothes showed traces of radiation, and witnesses later reported strange orange lights in the sky around that same time. The Soviet investigation was a mess from the start. No signs of a fight, no animal tracks, no avalanche pattern nearby. The official report called it the result of a compelling natural force. That's it. Case closed. But no one believed that. Over time, theories piled up, each darker than the last. Each explanation had holes. Each one left one question unanswered. Why would trained, experienced hikers run into a blizzard half-dressed? In 2019, Russian prosecutors reopened the case. In 2020, they concluded that an avalanche had caused the deaths. They claimed the hikers heard snow shifting, cut their tent open, and fled. When they couldn't find the tent again in the dark, they froze to death. But experts point out the flaws. The slope wasn't steep enough for a major avalanche. Their footprints showed no signs of chaos. Their tent was still partially visible, meaning the snow cover was minimal. Even today, scientists, survivalists, and conspiracy theorists continue to debate it. What happened that night on the Mountain of the Dead remains one of the coldest mysteries in history, both literally and figuratively. Yuri, the one who turned back early, lived haunted by survivor's guilt until his death in 2013. He once said, "If I had stayed with them, I would have died too. But maybe we would have known the truth." Maybe he's right. Maybe the mountain took the secret with it.